Today we're learning about rain and the smell and why it smells when it rains. Let's look into it. I guess we should just go for the straight question first. Why does it smell when it rains? Petrichor, the smell of rain. Raindrops themselves can smell. A specific bacteria that was grown in the soil when the conditions are damp and warm. The soil dries out and the bacteria produce spores in the soil, and then the wetness kicks them up into the air. This is saying that most of the smell is due to bacteria being kicked up into the air. I thought it was like all of the dust and dirt and grime got washed out of the air when it rained. Is that not, am I crazy? So they were watching the raindrops fall, and they saw that some of them were hitting the ground and tiny little air bubbles were getting trapped and then shooting up to the top of the raindrop, which then kind of burst out the top of the raindrop, which created like an aerosol effect. Raindrops are spraying up all of the stuff that's inside of them and that they're catching in the bacteria. So petrichor is only one of the smells. There's another one, but this one doesn't have a name. Only the nice smell gets a name. Rainwater tends to be somewhat acidic. Okay, some of the unpleasant smells are caused because the raindrops will pick up chemicals in the atmosphere when they're kind of floating around in a cloud. As they fall down, hit the ground, those chemicals mix with other chemicals that they meet on the ground, things like gasoline or other chemicals, and those chemicals mixing together give off an unpleasant smell. Why doesn't this one have a name either? Volatile oils. So one of the other smells from rain comes from oils that trees and plants are releasing. The rain reacts with that oil and then carries it as a gas through the air. So one of the reasons why you like the smell of rain is because it could signal the end of a drought. So if, like back in the day when we were evolving, there was a drought and things were getting scarce, rain may have signaled that fresh water is becoming available. Also, rain could also be associated with positive experiences and emotions like relief from hot weather or nourishments from crops. The soothing sound of rainfall. Nice things. Okay, I'd assumed that the cleaning the air thing was a real thing. Let me look into it, because I'm pretty sure like all the dust and debris gets knocked down when rain falls, but does that contribute to the smell at all? Atmospheric chemists have now determined just how effective rain is at cleaning up the atmosphere. Rain's coagulation efficiency? I don't think I understand the term coagulation in this context. Oh, the ability of a droplet to attract particles as it falls. Okay, so it's coagulating all the little particles in the air. Gotcha. This is interesting. I'm like wondering why they're studying the cleansing effect of rain in the first place. There's like a bunch of studies that they're doing to simulate the interactions of rain and aerosols, but like, why would you want to study that if it's something that you can't control at all? Like, we have no control over whether it rains or not. So if rain is going to clean up the atmosphere, like, that would be awesome. But why would we need to study it so hard? Unless they're planning to control the weather. People were tuning it into a range that was not atmospherically relevant. They were turning up the electrical charge of the raindrops too much. So I guess the droplet's electrical charge plays a big role in attracting particles, but the scientists were overcharging the particles artificially in order to see how much they could pick up, and the charge they were putting in is 10 to 100 times the charge which you would see in a natural weather storm, which is not really helpful. Jeez. So they're trying to get a more accurate picture of how this actually works, so they made a special chamber with a single droplet generator that can be like extremely specific on how large or small the droplets actually are. But the problem is that when you make one of those, it actually adds frequency and charge to the droplets automatically. So they had to use a small radioactive source to get rid of the charge from each of the droplets to more accurately measure, to more accurately like simulate the electrical charge a droplet would have in regular weather. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is the main goal of this project. If you can understand exactly how much cleaning is going to be done by the weather, you can kind of predict climate change a little bit better and how much toxins and greenhouse gases will still be in the air at a later date. So that's why they're doing this experiment. Ooh, I like this question. Is rainwater that falls from the sky clean? Like, are there pollutants and toxins in the clouds? I want to know. I guess this directly relates to the previous question. Like if raindrops are picking up toxins as they fall, they're coagulating them, then the water that actually lands on the ground or in like aquifers that people are putting out is probably not going to be clean if it's picking up all those toxins. All right, I'm going to do some more research on this throughout the day, and I'll get back to you later. It's later. I did some research, and I'm back, and now I'm going to tell you what I found. So I wanted to know how clean the water in the clouds actually was, and I got a little sidetracked. These are the questions I had. Well, first I was trying to figure out what exactly, if there are toxins in the clouds specifically, because I've heard about these. I had heard about stuff where the toxins are staying in the water forever, and I wanted to know, like, are there toxins in the clouds? So I looked up this stuff, and I found out that there are not toxins in the clouds. People kept talking about forever chemicals, and these guys right here, PFASs. Forever chemicals are basically indestructible, but they cannot evaporate with water. So if you've got forever chemicals in the ocean, those, or in any sort of waterway or cistern, place where water is stored, the forever chemicals will probably not evaporate with the water when the water is evaporated. So water evaporates, and then it gets like coalesces in the clouds, and it's super clean up until this point. Like it might maybe pick up a few chemicals that are in the air when it does this, but unclear. Anyways, so then the water in those clouds starts raining down, and as it is raining, it's picking up dust and dirt and toxins on the way down, in theory. Remember, they were struggling to prove that in that test that they were running because of the charged water particles. But I think we can all agree that they're picking up at least a little bit of dust and toxins. So that stuff is falling down, and it lands on the ground, and then the ground and the air, yeah, I guess there was more in the air. The ground is really where most of the toxins and stuff, the PCBs, or whatever they're called, PFASs, where these guys come in, and then all of that forever toxins get washed away from the dirt, and they all run into like streams and rivers and oceans and whatever, and that's how most of the chemicals get into there. So if you would like to drink some rainwater, the answer is you probably can. Just if you're collecting it over like a very large source, like you've got like a whole roof system set up to collect rainwater, or you've got like a big old field that has a drain that goes down to some underground cistern, maybe check that and test it first before you drink it, because apparently in Miami there was some tests done where they tested a lot of different waterways, and like 75% of them had these forever chemicals in them, which are not good for your body. So yeah. Okay, I got real sidetracked by the whole cloud and toxins and safe drinking water and that kind of thing, but let's move back onto the smell of rain. Okay, so just to recap what is actually happening when you're smelling rain. So the rain is falling, no smell yet. The rain hits the ground, no smell yet. It makes the ground a little bit moist, and then the bacteria in that ground, the Actinomycetes, they get wet, they activate, they produce something called geosmin. That geosmin's in the dirt, and then the bubbles, so it's all activated in the dirt. The rain hits the dirt, and the little champagne bubbles that come through the water droplet grab all that geosmin and throw it up into the air in aerosol form. And voila! Rain scent. And that's where the scent of the rain comes from. But apparently there's a difference between ozone and geosmin, which ozone is like the smell of chemicals, molecular bonds being formed and broken. So the lightning comes through the air and goes cracks and breaks up atmospheric oxygen and nitrogen. And then some of those oxygen and nitrogen broken apart things are sometimes recombined into nitric oxide, I can talk, which then reacts with other stuff. I didn't find out what the other stuff was. And sometimes that other stuff turns into ozone, which is three oxygen molecules. And you can smell it real good. So I guess apparently this stuff is like super, like human noses are super sensitive to this stuff. They're even more sensitive to the geosmin from the rain. But this is why if you are ever, like, it's a cloudy day and you're thinking, hey, I smell rain, but it hasn't started raining yet, this is why. Because the lightning is like cracking apart the molecules and creating that ozone smell, and usually there's only ozone smell if there's lightning, and rain usually follows lightning. I feel like there's holes in my story. Oh, some other fun facts. Benefits of the petrichor effect, the smell of rain. One benefit would be that if you need to know where water is, if there's a smell of water, you can find that water source. Particularly this reference was using camels as examples. If camels are in the desert and they can smell the water, so they know where to go, which would be useful. Also, fish. If it's raining, apparently that can trigger the fish response to get it on with the slow jams, and like mating season. Procreation. There was a source that was saying that the ozone smell doesn't always come from the lightning. It was coming from a ground source, but a stupid link was broken and I couldn't figure out where it was actually coming from. So I don't know about that. Anyways, that's pretty much all she wrote. Peace.